Afternoon, my name is John. I'm the founder of whatifi, and today on a sunny day in Vancouver, we're going to model up a basic Canada pension plan retirement scenario in whatifi. I'm going to show you how quick and fast it is to do. What are we going to do? We're going to add in a career decision here. We're going to have our current job, or we're going to look at an alternate scenario where we work for 5 more years at our current job and then switch to working part-time. We're going to reconcile all of our pension contributions to date, and we're going to extrapolate those out into the future. And then we're going to look at 2 different retirement scenarios, one at 55, one at 62. And we're also going to look at a scenario where we take a 1-year sabbatical in our current job here to offset the fact that we're not taking any sort of part-time work. Really, really basic, but let's kind of run through how we're going to go about doing that one. So let's start with a clean scenario here. And here we have our baseline. First thing we're going to do is we're going to add a job. So let's add an income. Let's call this full-time. We're going to make this bi-weekly. Let's call it $2,500. Employment income. This is for me. Really important. We're going to turn on disable upon retirement. Let's just set a start date for today just to make things easy. We're going to apply inflation, so assume that's going to accrue. And really important, notice that we are not putting anything into the end date here. Okay. Alternate now though. Let's put in a decision, because the other decision is about working a different scenario here. So we're going to use our utility events, add a decision, and let's just call this career. All right. Let's make things fast. Let's copy and paste this event. And let's edit it. Let's call this the alternate. And it's also going to be that, but we're going to work, say, for 5 more years. So that's going to take us to maybe 2026. We'll pick this particular date. So now we have an end date in this scenario, and we're going to update that one. So we have those 2. And what you should be able to see here in a second is if we flip back and forth between these 2, you're already seeing the income drop off in one scenario versus the other. Okay. Next up, let's add in our part-time job. Let's say this is also bi-weekly and this is $1,000 instead. Employment income associated with myself. This is in 2026. We'll pick things up April 1st, apply inflation, and let's fill an ad. Okay. Next up, retirement. So let's start thinking about a pension. So I'm going to add here a pension event, part of our retirement planning scenarios here. Pension event. What a pension event does, it's pretty powerful. It can, 1, estimate, or we can plug in the actuals from our Canada profile to say how much pension plan we've accrued to date. We're going to estimate today, so we're going to say CPP. We're going to assume we started working when we're 24 years old. I'm going to guesstimate that I've accrued 75% of my pension to date. I'm going to apply inflation to that. I'm going to add that in. Okay. Now, really quickly note what you could have done here too is you could have used the actuals. You could have filled in actual years and made this more accurate. Okay. I'm going to bring these 2 together. And boom, we now have a pension scenario in there. What it is doing, it's reconciling the past and also extrapolating these 2 potential paths out into the future. Next, let's add a retirement scenario here. So I'm going to put in another decision event, and we're just going to call this retirement. And I'm going to use a retirement event here. Looks really, really basic, but it's pretty powerful. So let's start by saying we're going to retire, let's just say 2036. And that's going to be maybe April 1st of that particular year. And this is going to be for me. So that means I'm going to be 62 in this example. So let's just call this retire 62. And we're going to add that in. Great. And then maybe let's add in another retirement scenario. So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to paste it. And in this particular example here, let's maybe say we're retiring at 60. So 2034, drop this particular date in, and let's call this retire 60. And dropping that in. Great, so we have retire 60. And the other thing we want to do here is we want to model, hey, if we're going to be working full-time and we're not going to switch to part-time, let's plan for a 1-year sabbatical. This is actually one of our most powerful events that we have. It's called a modifier. And a modifier allows you to change any property on any event upstream there for a period of time. Incredibly powerful. So let's start by this. we're going to set a date here. Let's just say that we are going to maybe take a sabbatical in 2025, April 1st. Let's do that. We are going to affect a specific event. That specific event was our full-time event here. We are going to take our income and we are going to suppress that value down to 0, and we're going to do it for a 1-year stint. So let's take this to 2026 and add this in. And now we're going to fill an ad. I'm going to connect this back into this. And boom, we've modeled out our scenario. So let's dig a little bit deeper and I'll show you what we've done. So first we're going to open up our thread list manager here and we're going to take a look at our graph. And we are going to find this particular path. So you can already see here that we have a scenario where we're modeling out, we're working, then we have our year-long sabbatical, and then we're off in the future. Now what I'm noticing is we haven't built our scenario to be long enough, so I'm actually going to modify this. I'm going to come into this one, we're going to edit this, and we've got a 15-year scenario. Let's make this 25 years instead so we can see the result. This is going to recalculate, and now we should be seeing working full-time, our 1-year sabbatical, continuing to work, and then our pension kind of kicking in down the road, including indexing for inflation. What are we able to do? We're able to compare all those scenarios against each other. We can see how they all look over time. We can compare our net worth for each of these given sort of scenarios. So what else can we do? Maybe we can randomly decide, what if we retire super early? Let's retire at 55. I'm going to duplicate this. I'm going to paste this event in. I'm going to connect this back. And let's edit this. Call this retire 55. And I'm going to take 5 years off of this, 2029. So what have I done? Just like that, I've created not just one more, but 2 more scenarios because I'm now multiplying the full-time and the part-time scenarios versus these 3. So I now have 6 different scenarios here on the side. I can select my favorites, compare them against each other, and help make my decisions based on when I want to retire, what my career opportunities are, and what my future looks like. Obviously, we want to build in and factor things like RRSPs, old age security, etc., etc. All of that is possible in our framework. So that there is a quick, fast way of building a retirement scenario in whatifi, and we look forward to working with you as you try and build out scenarios for you, yourself, or potentially your clients. Thanks.